Oh, Miss Fortune! Mrs. Fortune doesn't have any audio.
Hey.
Your videos. No,
there we go. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Henry, you're just
Addie's small now. Addie's big again.
weird or what? So we're just gonna hang out a little bit until I think Gavin might be trying to join too. It looks like.
I think so too.
So we'll just hang out a bit and let some folks join in, and you guys can giggle and wave and all of that. Isn't this funny?
Addie's big again.
Look, I need a little bit.
And then Addie has the big.
This is Gavin. We're trying to figure out the video.
No problem. Take your time. Okay, you are my guinea pigs because you are my very first Zoom meeting that I am hosting. So I don't really know what I'm doing exactly. Looks like manage. I don't know. Keep playing it by ear. Hopefully everybody will be able to hear. And then when it's time to start reading, I'll probably mute folks so that everybody can hear them.
Oh, Miss Gavin?
Hey, Gavin, there you are. We can see you, but we can't hear you. There you go.
I made a little green shamrock.
Oh, let's see it. Hold it up a little higher. Oh, that's awesome. Are you guys doing that thing where you put it in your window?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, good. That sounds like a fun activity. And then you have to go out later and walk around and see how many you can find, huh? There. Now Henry's not just a head anymore. Oh, we've got Eleanor trying to sign in.
CF Penny.
That's Eleanor.
Okay, they're here.
Oh, and here comes Andres. Hi, guys.
Wait. Hi. Participants.
Is this weird or what?
It does get weirder and weirder, Henry. What's easy for you to say? You told me it. You're the one.
So one rule I'm going to have for these meetings is there's no arguing on your end. Okay. Talking to you, Mayhews.
What?
You can't argue or I'm going to have to turn you off.
Stop arguing.
Yep. Stop. Thank you.
Can you see us? Hi,
I can
Tracy.
see your name. So you have to, Laura, if you look in the lower, well, wherever your menu bar is, there's a mute and there's a video button. You can turn, I can hear you, so you're not muted, but you need to turn on the video, I think.
So you can hear us, but you can't see us.
Correct.
Is it true that yesterday you started reading, but then you forgot to hit the recording button?
100% true. Yep. But I think I'm on it now. I think I've got it figured out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's 7 participants now.
Okay.
Now Abby's the big screen again.
I can see Amelia.
Miles.
Oh, of course.
Brent's iPad.
Miles. Hi, Svea.
Come here.
I miss Fortun.
Trent,
Svea!
Hello.
Hey, can I
Hi, Svea!
Hi.
wait, am I not sharing my, hold on. Yeah, so, oh, sorry.
There's lots of people joining here.
Hi, Addie.
Oh, there's Svea.
Hi, Sarah. Hi. Can you get my nitty?
Our video is not working. I'm not sure why.
Wait,
Um,
can I go get
Oh, okay, you're gonna have to not see it.
Here, Sylvie.
You know, if your video is not working and you're on a Mac, you probably missed the thing where there's permission.
Abigail and Holden.
Hello. Hi, Henry. Oh, where's Abigail? Abigail.
There's a. You need to stop talking. There's a. Whoever who's Trent's iPad.
That's Miles.
Okay. There. Do you see the start your video on the bottom left hand side? It doesn't automatically use your video, so you have to click on that to get it started. I don't know if you tried that already.
There we go. Hi, Ava. And there's Miles. Hi, Miles.
Hi.
Oh, did it actually give you useful information?
Yeah.
There you go. I think that worked.
Oh no, Addie disappeared from my view.
Wait, what?
Is that working?
No. Wait.
Yes. Here's Dave. Look at the small screen.
Oh, there's Miles.
Hi, Sylvie.
Gabe again. Gabe.
Because Gabe doesn't have.
You're big again.
Use your
Addie.
An iPad.
Oh, here comes Gabe. Oh, awesome.
Fortun.
Gabe?
And then Ava.
And Sam.
Here.
And Owen.
13 participants. And Gabe.
Why is she there?
They see me and I see them.
And then Mrs. Parker.
Oh,
Amelia. Hi. And Addie's on Georgia. Now the Barker.
Here's Sam.
Oh!
Oh, here comes Nora.
Is that you?
wait, what?
It's getting noisy.
It is getting noisy. Okay, I see some folks have their knitting. Hopefully they have some sketching.
So you can
Legos.
you can look at it.
This is cool.
Hi, Sam. Hi,
One after the other.
You're down there. You don't know what to say.
I'm Miles.
Gabe, where's Gabe?
Gabe is still
I'm right
working on
now.
it. Apple's there
I'm
somewhere.
staring right at you, Ava. I know.
Bye. Bye. Yeah, let's take them upstairs. Come here. What?
There's Nora and Morgan.
Oh, that's all.
It's like we're trying to get Alina and Gabe still, and it looks like
You just said it don't need to get the app.
Oh, and
Rashawn is going to join.
where is everyone?
Hi, Nora.
Guys, can everybody see Gabe?
No,
No, not yet. I can hear you though.
Please. Yeah.
Alright, I have no idea how you like. Let's switch to X. Oh, no, don't want to do that. Hold down the phone.
Can I just guess?
This name, but
I
you
have no idea.
just so somebody figured it.
This is technology. I'm confused.
Oh, Alina. Alina?
No,
Yeah, Adina's on here.
Can you guys see Alina?
They changed the
What we can't see, if you on the bottom left, there's a video camera icon that has a line through it. If you click it, it'll start the video.
Wow.
1 second.
Yeah, Alina's here. I see
Oh, there
Sarah
we
Jose.
see Owen now.
See me?
Yeah, it has to be on my other screen.
I see you hiding, Owen.
Hold on.
There. Start video.
Hold on.
Oh,
there he is.
Oh, there.
Yeah.
Aha, excellent.
There you go.
Awesome. Okay.
Now everybody's
Oh, I see Owen quickly now.
There we go. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, now would probably be a good time.
What up, Alden and Abby?
Oh, look, the is coming.
Hi, guys.
Wait, Alina's?
I wanted to
Hello. Was everyone singing at the same time?
Okay, guys, I have muted you.
Awesome. Okay.
So Miss Circe is just saying hi.
Bye-bye.
Okay. And can you just give me a thumbs up that you can hear me? Okay, awesome, great. Hi, Rashawn. So I am going to not be able to read if I am also hearing all of you fiddling with the computer and showing your cat and all of all of those things. So I'm going to try to start read aloud each time with a little greeting time so that you can all see each other and wave and show off your art and your pets and whatnot. And then, and your shamrocks, yes. And then we're going to launch into the story. So if for some reason you have to go, we will, we'll understand completely, but I will try to read for somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 30 minutes if I can. And you can stay as long as you like. And then I do have a couple of ground rules for coming to read aloud or to our Zoom, any of our Zoom meetings that we're going to have, any of our classroom lessons that we're going to try to have. So rule number 1, I need everybody to be dressed. Okay, you are at home all day. Maybe you're hanging out in your jammies all day. No problem with me. But if you're coming to a Zoom meeting or a read aloud, please do have clothes on. I do appreciate that. Shoes are optional, of course. Okay, can you give me a thumbs up if you heard that rule? Awesome. Okay, the other rule is I'm going to expect that if you are joining any of the Zoom read alouds or lessons or meetings, that you have a parent there with you. You are all very tech savvy, but I don't want anybody tuning in to any of the online stuff without a parent knowing. Now, they don't have to sit right next to you, but I need them to be logging you on and to know that you're in a meeting with me, okay? And I'm always gonna have adults on this side who know that I'm in a meeting with you, okay? So thumbs up if you heard that rule. Awesome, okay. And so you are welcome to be sketching, you are welcome to be knitting, you are welcome to be doing Legos, as long as you are able to keep listening to the story. And if hey, do whatever you want with your hands. So I'm going to, I guess I'll get started. So some of you heard what happened to me yesterday, that I sat in front of the video. I recorded myself reading a whole chapter of Toby. Can you see? Yeah, I read a whole chapter and then got home and went to upload it and realized it wasn't there. I had not hit record. So I'm going to back up to that spot where I was. So I believe this is where Mrs. Schneider left off. Right after Tyler, I'm going to unmute you for a second. I believe we left off right after Tyler and Toby visited the ranch. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, great. That's what I thought. All right. Okay, I'm going to put you back on mute. I won't be able to hear you now. Okay. All right. So I'm going to start with, after that, Tyler and I ran together most days. I always got excited to see him in the mornings when he was wearing his white shoes that smelled of rubber and tar and dirt from the street and sweat from his feet. Such a delicious odor. I couldn't understand why he didn't wear those shoes all the time. When I smelled those shoes on his feet, it usually meant that we were going to run to the ranch. Sadie and I would sniff each other and play chase and wrestle and it's my stick and you can't have it. And Tyler and Walt would watch us and laugh. Then Tyler would drink a glass of that sweet yellow stuff and we'd run back. One day, to my surprise, we ran past the ranch. I stopped and whined, reminding Tyler of the way we were supposed to go. That day, Tyler had kept my leash on, and he pulled at me, insisting that we go his way. What were we doing? Wait and see, Toby, he told me. And we ran longer on the dirt road than we had ever done. Finally, we turned around, and then we went to the ranch so that my mother and I could play. At last. When we returned to my home after these runs, I was always tired and ready for a big drink and a good nap. Tyler would hand my leash to Mona, and she'd usually take me to rest on a bed with one of my friends. Lie still, she'd say, lie still. Sometimes I wondered if she had forgotten that my name was Toby and decided to call me Lie Still instead. Tyler came to visit me other times too. Not just in the morning for our runs. One afternoon, Mona saw him come in the front door. She had me on my leash and she and I went up to greet him. I sniffed his shoes, but they were not the admirably smelly ones he wore when we ran. I was still glad to see him though, so I jumped up and put my paws on his knees to tell him so. Are you going to visit your grandfather? Mona asked. Could Toby practice lie still with him? I'm sure he'd love that, Tyler said, scratching behind my ears. I knew the word love, but it was funny how sad Tyler's voice sounded when he said it. Love was not a sad word. Okay, come on, Toby, Mona said, come with us. I knew come too, so I followed her down the hall to Granddad's room. I was glad to see him. So I leaped up on the bed and put my paws on the book he was reading so that I could lick his chin. No, Toby, Mona said, lie still. That again? I sat down and wagged my tail, looking at her hopefully to see if this would please her. She was standing next to Tyler. She sighed. That morning, Tyler and I had been on a good long run, and I'd had a marvelous game of You Can't Catch Me with my mother. Whenever I saw Tyler, I thought about running to the ranch, and that made me think of taking a nap. I'd taken a nap next to Dorothy after our run this morning. When I woke up, Mona had told me, good dog, Toby, good lie still. Now, on Granddad's bed, I tilted my head to look at Mona in puzzlement. Was I a good dog for napping? Napping did not seem like my other tricks. It was not like sit down or shake. It was just napping because I was sleepy. But Mona said I was a good dog when I napped. Other times I was not always a good dog, but every time I napped after a run, I was. Was that lie still? I wasn't very sleepy now, but it seemed to make Mona so happy when I just lay there. Lie still. Maybe, even though I wasn't tired, I'd pretend to take a nap. Maybe that would make Mona happy. I curled up next to Granddad's side. The warmth of his body felt good next to mine. I even sighed without thinking about it, just as I often did when I was ready for a nap. Oh, good boy, Toby, Mona said. Don't move, Granddad, Tyler said. Good, Toby, good lie still, Mona praised. She was happy. I was a good dog. I wagged the very tip of my tail just so she would know I had heard her. I knew what lie still meant now. Mona came to the bed and stroked her hand along my back, telling me over and over that I was a good boy, that I was doing a good lie still. Tyler came and petted me too, which was very nice. 2 hands rubbing my back made me wiggle with delight. But then I remembered that lie still meant pretend napping, and I forced myself to be quiet again. Mona, you did it. He's got it, Tyler was grinning. You're a great dog trainer. He picked up his hand from my back. He reached to put it on my head again, but Mona's hand was already there. Tyler left his hand on Mona's. They both stopped petting me until I picked up my head and looked at them with a bit of reproach in my eyes. Wasn't I doing a good lie still? Wasn't this what they both wanted? Why had they stopped telling me what a good dog I was? They remembered then and petted me some more. Sometimes people just need reminding. Okay, how are we doing? Everybody good? Yeah? Okay, awesome. Chapter 15, A couple of weeks after my first lie still with Granddad, Mona came to get me. It was afternoon, and Dorothy and I were playing chase the ball outside in the yard. Sorry, Dorothy, but Toby's got a very important appointment, Mona said, clipping my leash onto my collar. She took me to a car. Patsy sat in the front seat and drove, while Mona and I sat in the back. I pressed my nose to the window, which was open just a crack at the top. Wind rushed in, packed full of smells that made me dizzy with excitement. So wonderful. When the car stopped and we got out, I looked around in surprise to see all the people there. So many new friends. I wagged and wagged as Mona took me on my leash through the crowd, and people smiled and stopped to pet me. One little girl even gave me a crunchy, salty treat from a bag that rustled in her hand. I liked this place very much. Come on, Toby, the race is going to start soon, Mona urged, tugging on my leash. She took me to where the crowd was thickest. A group of boys was standing together on the grass, and a thin dirt road, like the one Tyler and I followed to get to the ranch, led off into some trees. Good, we're just in time, Mona said. Here, Toby, do you want to see? She picked me up and held me. I squirmed so that I could lick her chin. Someone shouted, and the boys lined up across the grass. Then I began to squirm harder in Mona's arms. Tyler! Tyler was there with all the other boys. My whole body quivered with eagerness. This morning, Tyler had not come to get me for my run, but he was here, now. Shouldn't I go to him? A man was standing near the boys, and he put a hand up in the air. He was holding some kind of a toy in it, something black and shiny. The toy made a loud noise. I twitched in surprise, and all the boys started running toward the forest. Running! I squirmed harder and whined. Tyler was running without me. This was not what was supposed to happen. When Tyler ran, I belonged to him. Toby, take it easy, Mona said. She put me down on the grass and fumbled with my leash. I had to get to Tyler. I lunged forward. My leash slipped through Mona's fingers. Toby, she shouted. But I was too busy to take care of her right at that moment. I tore across the grass, my leash trailing behind me, whipping like a snake. I dodged trampling feet and grabby hands. The boys had nearly reached the trees by now. I would catch them. After all the running Tyler and I had done, my legs were strong and the pads of my paws were tough. Those boys could not get away from me. Now I was in the forest, and Tyler was right ahead of me. He was running behind the other boys just as he used to. Pretty soon I was at his heels. Toby? Tyler gasped in surprise, looking down at me. I yipped up at him happily. He'd forgotten to come and get me for this run, but I forgave him. Now that we were running together, everything was all right. It was better than all right. It was perfect. Good dog, Toby, Tyler said, pulling in big breaths between his words. He reached down and, without missing a step, unsnapped my leash, winding it around his fist. I darted around Tyler's feet so that I could run ahead of him. Where was the ranch? Weren't we going there? I was afraid Tyler might have gotten confused and taken the wrong road. I was sure I could find the right one. No matter how hard I sniffed, I could not smell a whiff of Sadie or Walt on the warm breeze that drifted to me. But when we broke out from under the trees, our path ran along a fenced-in meadow. On the other side of the fence were some of those enormous black and white dogs. You remember what those were, right, guys? The enormous black and white dogs? Yeah, they were cows, right? I sped up so I could bark at those big dogs. The big dogs ignored me. They usually did. I wondered why they never barked back. Tyler sped up too. He stayed close. The pack of boys ahead of us had begun to spread out, some running a bit slower, some pushing ahead of the rest. A boy in dark shorts was running just in front of us as we jogged along the fence that held the big dogs in. I passed him and then another boy. Somewhere up ahead, the ranch would be waiting, and I'd get a big bowl of cool water and play with Sadie and greet Walt. I could hardly wait. I glanced back and discovered to my great joy that Tyler had finally figured out how to play chase me. He was right behind me. I wagged my tail for him and looked ahead again. Slowly we passed boy after boy. Our trail took us back under more trees and over a small bridge with a skinny creek trickling underneath. Tyler's feet pounded on the wooden boards and my claws scratched them. I would have liked to stop for a drink, but I didn't want to lose the sensational game that we were all playing. A drink could come later. A boy ahead of us tried to jump over a log that lay in the path. He stumbled, though, and fell to his hands and knees. I bounded over the log easily and stopped to check on the fallen boy. I licked his face. It was nice and sweaty. Tasty. You okay? Tyler shouted from behind. Yeah, okay, the boy gasped, getting slowly to his feet. Tyler hurdled the log before the boy could start running again, and I dashed out in front of Tyler once more. Our path wound in slow curves and then led us down a slope. I could see a break in the trees ahead and sunlight shining on the grass. Only one boy was ahead of Tyler and me now, halfway down the slope. He wore a light-colored t-shirt and dark shoes. When he looked back over his shoulder, I barked at him happily. He knew how to play chase me, too. He was asking me to come and get him. I was delighted to oblige. I put on speed as we headed down the slope, and Tyler, breathing hard now, stayed close behind. We were going to catch that other boy any second now. The boy in the dark shoes was right in front of us when we broke out from under the shadows of the trees and into the sunlight. But he was breathing hard, and his legs were starting to wobble a bit with each step. I tore around the boy, my claws digging deep into the earth. Now I was running all by myself, ahead of Tyler and all the pack. I looked back to be sure that they understood what to do. It was their turn to play chase me now. The boy in the dark shoes was wobbling more and more. He began to slow down. Tyler did not. He ran steadily, not fast, but never faltering. He drew close to the other boy. For a short time, they ran side by side. Then Tyler pulled slowly ahead. It was funny. Tyler used to like running behind all the other boys. Then he had wanted to run just with me. Now it seemed as if his favorite thing was to run with lots of boys again, but this time in front, not behind. At least the smile on his face as he passed the boy in the dark shoes made it look like being in front was his favorite thing. But then that smile faded. I turned to look ahead and saw that a big hill was rising up in front of us. I charged up it, looking back often to encourage Tyler and the other boy to remember the rules of chase me. I was in the front now, and they had to catch me if they could. Tyler was going slower now. The smile was off his face. But his feet, uh-oh, can you guys hear me? You're hearing me okay? Okay, I'm getting a message that my speaker isn't working, but if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. Yep, okay, I'll keep going. Tyler was going slower now. The smile was off his face, but his feet were still steady on the ground. The boy in the dark shoes was behind him, and even from where I was running, I could hear how hard that boy was panting. More boys were starting to jog out from the trees behind us. Great, we could all play together. A sound drifted to my ears from over the top of the hill. People were shouting and cheering. They sounded excited and happy. They should come and run with us. They'd be even happier. A warm breeze brought a scent to my nose. Mona, she was one of the people up ahead. I wanted to be with her, so I put on a little extra speed and reached the top of the hill. I looked back to check on Tyler. He was still jogging after me. The boy in the dark shoes had stopped running and started walking. A few of the other boys were doing the same. What a silly thing to do. I looked ahead and saw that we had run in a big circle and come back to where we had started. It wasn't nearly as far a run as the ranch. Why hadn't we just gone to the ranch? Tyler must have gotten very lost. Oh well. I could hear and see Mona now, as well as smell her. She was at the bottom of the hill, waving and shouting my name and Tyler's. I ran to her and she dropped to her knees to greet me. Toby, you silly boy, she kept saying. She grabbed hold of my collar. Then Mona looked up. Tyler, Tyler, she shouted, jumping and waving. Tyler was running down the hill now. His stride was wide and his back was straight. I pulled on the collar so Mona would let me run to him. It was what I was supposed to do. No, Toby, she said, pulling back. I whined impatiently. She didn't understand. I looked up at her, trying to explain it with my eyes. Tyler was running. I was supposed to run with him. Oh, well, Mona said, and let go. Wonderful. I raced after Tyler, barking at him happily, circled around his feet a few times, and jogged with him the rest of the way down the hill. Tyler stopped running and put his hands on his knees and panted and panted. All the people clapped, and there was a lot of yelling. Breathless, he put my leash back on. After a little while, the rest of the boys staggered over the hill and down to where we were waiting, and everybody clapped and yelled some more. I wagged and wagged. All these people seemed very pleased. I must have been a very good dog. After all the clapping and shouting and talking was over, Tyler drank a lot of water from a plastic bottle and poured some more over his head, and Mona poured some from another bottle into her hand for me to lap up. Then Mona pulled on my leash, and we went back to the place where all the cars were parked. One car pulled up and stopped for us to get in. Tyler and Mona sat together in the back seat with me. Patsy was sitting in the front seat. Mona and Tyler were laughing, and both of them talked at the same time. They said my name a lot, and Tyler's too, and Patsy smiled, but she didn't seem as happy. Then she said something back to them, and all their happiness went away too, just like that. I was confused and looked from Tyler to Mona. Was something wrong? Had I been a bad dog? I sat in case that was what they wanted. I held up a paw for Tyler to shake. He took it. Good boy, Toby, he said, but his voice still sounded miserable. I did lie still, curled up against Mona. She rubbed my ears. I was beginning to think maybe I hadn't done anything wrong, but it was still hard to understand how all the happiness in that car could change to sadness so quickly. We'll go back now, Patsy said soberly, and she began to drive. When we got back home, I jumped out of the car. Fran was waiting for us at the doorway. Your mom's already in the hospice wing with your grandfather, she said to Tyler. We'll go right there. She looked down at me. The dog's a mess. Mona, take him and get him cleaned up. Tyler bent down and picked me up. He held me and put his face in my fur, and I felt his body relax just a little. It's just a little mud, Patsy said gently. I don't think it matters all that much. Fran looked at Tyler and at me, and for the first time, I did not feel like a bad dog around her. Yes, of course, she said gently. You're right. She reached out a hand and stroked my back. Good dog, Toby. Okay, so I'm gonna unmute you for a second. I know, that went fast.
Really fast.
I have a question.
Hi, Nigel.
Yeah, okay, so it doesn't work to unmute you. So did Mrs. Schneider talk to you guys about what a hospice area of a nursing home is?
No.
Okay, maybe not a thumbs up, but just yes if you're, okay. So I'm gonna talk about that just a little bit because some of you heard about it and some of you didn't. So that is an area of a nursing home where when a person has reached the very end of their life, it is a place where they go where the staff is trained to keep them very comfortable and make sure they're not in any pain and make sure that their family members can visit them for toward the end of their life. So that's unfortunately what has happened now is the granddad has gone to that area of the nursing home. So it sounds like he's reaching the end of his lifetime. Okay. So we're going to have one more chapter of Toby, and then I'm going to pick a different book because we're going to keep meeting like this. I will be here. I'm going to do my very best to be here every day at 1 o'clock so that we can read together. So tomorrow we'll probably read the last chapter of Toby, and then I'm not quite sure what the next book is going to be, but I will be able to tell you tomorrow and maybe even start that book tomorrow with you. Okay, so I'm gonna repeat those rules real fast for everybody that joined in late. Okay, I'm happy to see everybody. Adam is here now, and we've had Andres, we have Adam Rana, we have, well, I would like to tell you everybody that's here, but the names keep flip-flopping on me. Nigel's here. Who else didn't I say hi to? Did we say hi to Alina? Miles, Sam, Nora, and Morgan, and Rashawn and Carissa, Owen and Mira, Gabe, and did I hear Gavin with you? There's Axel, we have Eleanor and Mom, I think. The picture is very small. And then Arish and Nigel. And then someone whose name apparently is iPhone. So whoever you are, iPhone, glad to see you.
Hey, I'm Chris.
So just to review those rules, when you come to read aloud or to any Zoom meetings with me, you're welcome to wear your jammies all day long. Whatever your folks are okay with is fine with me. But when you come to Zoom meetings with me, please have clothes on, like the kind of clothes you would be wearing to school, okay? I don't care if you have shoes on or not. And then the other one was make sure your mom or dad or babysitter or grandparent knows that you are logging into an online meeting or Read Aloud, okay? They don't have to sit with you, but they have to log you in and they have to be, home, okay? Okay. All right, I will unmute you so you can wave a little bit more and see your friends for a couple more minutes. And this has been a lot of fun, and I will see you guys back here tomorrow.
Yay.
Okay?
Hey, Seth. Bye-bye, Addie. Bye-bye, Mrs. Fortun. Bye-bye, Owen. Bye-bye, Freya. Bye-bye, Nick. Bye-bye, Maya. Bye-bye, Sam.
Bye, everybody in the whole world.
Oh, I'm Nick. Sam, bye-bye, Nora. Bye-bye, Sean. Bye, Owen. Bye-bye, Kate. Bye-bye, Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye, everybody in the whole world.
Bye, Addie.
Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.
Bye,
Okay, and Chris, we're here.
Hi.
Get their video on.
Hi, Freya.
Now Stan has a different cat.
Owen.
Hi, Nora. Hi, Freya. Hi, Milo. I think this study really needs to start. We should look at participants. No, you said it.
Just shouting your name for 10 hours.
Okay.
Mama, how do I turn this off?
Bye, Miss Fortun.
Bye, guys. See you tomorrow.
Bye. Bye. No, night. How do you zoom in? I'm saying hi to everyone. When I'm